Freeze! Drop the shopping cart and step away from the seafood counter. Seriously, if you value the last shred of your gastronomic innocence, you'll back away slowly. Don't make eye contact with the guy in the white apron stacking the salmon. Whew! Okay, I'm not here to tell you to survive on plankton and sea salt. I'm here to rip off the rose-tinted scuba mask you've been wearing every time you wander past the chilled aisles. Ha! You actually believe that pristine fillet of cod or those plump, glistening shrimp are gifts from the deep blue sea, caught at dawn by a rugged fisherman named Bjorn? The reality is that the seafood industry has turned your dinner into a high-stakes chemistry experiment where the ocean is just a suggestion, and the only thing being caught is you. Yes, I'm about to drop 33 facts on you that will transform your next trip to the supermarket fish counter into a psychological thriller with a body count. Buckle up, it's going to sting. It might smell a little fishy, but by the end, you'll know exactly what kind of swamp monster is really lurking in your premium seafood platter. Block 1. The Salty Mirage. Fact 1. Salmon fillet. The Orange Tango Instructor. Picture this. You're at the counter, eyeing that beautiful, vibrant orange fillet of salmon. You're already imagining it on a bed of rice drizzled with lemon, the pinnacle of a healthy, omega-3 rich dinner. You genuinely believe this fish spent its life swimming against powerful currents in the cold, clean waters of the North Atlantic, building that perfect texture. Strap in. This fish has never seen the ocean. It was born in a net pen, a floating feedlot, so packed with its brethren they can barely turn around. That gorgeous uniform orange color? It's not from a diet of wild crustaceans. It's from synthetic astaxanthin, a color additive pumped into its feed so it doesn't look like the sad gray flesh it actually is. You're paying a premium for a fish that's been on a forced tanning bed its whole life. Congratulations, you just bought the aquatic equivalent of a spray tan. Fact 2. Shrimp. The salty ballerina on steroids. You're throwing together a quick salad or a pasta dish, and you grab a bag of those perfectly peeled, plump, and ready-to-eat shrimp. They look so clean, so convenient, so meaty. You picture them doing a little dance on the ocean floor, living their best crustacean life. Hold your applause. These shrimp are most likely the product of intense, high-density farming in a muddy pond somewhere in Southeast Asia. To keep them alive in their own filth and stop them from killing each other from stress, they are pumped full of antibiotics and chemicals. And that plumpness? Often, it's not just muscle. They've been treated with phosphates to retain water, so you're literally paying for the seawater they were injected with. You think you're buying protein, but you're really buying a sponge full of dubious juice. It's like buying a fluffy coat that's just been hosed down to make it feel thicker. Fact 3. Cod fillet. The thawed-out zombie. You're feeling virtuous, opting for the lean, white flesh of cod. It's the classic, the staple, the blank canvas for a healthy meal. You assume that since it looks firm and fresh, it must have been caught yesterday and rushed to the store, right? Think again. A massive percentage of that fresh cod has been previously frozen solid on a factory ship, then thawed out at the warehouse, repackaged, and laid on a bed of ice to fool you. This process destroys the cell structure, turning the delicate flesh into a mushy, waterlogged mess that falls apart in the pan. It's a resurrected fish, a culinary zombie brought back from the icy dead just to disappoint you on a Tuesday night. You're paying fresh prices for defrosted leftovers. Fact 4. Sea bass. The impersonator from the muddy pond. You spot it in the display. Elegant, silver, with a name that whispers of Mediterranean coasts and fancy restaurants. You pick it up, imagining a light grilling with herbs, a true taste of the ocean's aristocracy. You believe this is a wild, line-caught delicacy? Oh, bless your heart. Chances are that sea bass is actually barramundi or a similar species, raised in a freshwater farm, possibly in a tank far from any sea. It's been fed a diet of pellets to bulk up fast, and it has about as much in common with its wild cousin as a corn-fed feedlot cow has with a wild bison. It's a fraud, a commoner wearing a tuxedo, fooling you into paying luxury prices for a product that's essentially aquatic chicken. Fact 5. Tuna steak, the gas-flushed beauty queen. You're at the butcher counter, and that deep red, almost purple tuna steak catches your eye. It's the color of freshness, of vitality, screaming sushi-grade quality. You're already picturing it seared rare with sesame seeds. Don't get too attached to that color. That vibrant red is a lie. Tuna naturally turns brown when exposed to air. To keep it looking fresh for days, it's often treated with carbon monoxide gas. This process fixes the red color permanently, even as the meat rots. You are looking at a beautifully preserved corpse, a carcass in a chemical makeup kit that could be well past its prime, while still wearing the blushing cheeks of a just-caught fish. It's the cosmetic surgery of the seafood world. Fact 6. Fish sticks, the cardboard disguise. A childhood classic, a quick Friday night dinner. You pop them in the oven, happy in the knowledge that you're getting some easy, kid-friendly protein. It's fish, right? It must be healthy. Let's peel back the golden brown breading. Inside, you'll often find not a chunk of fillet, but a paste. It's a mixture of various low-quality white fish scraps, minced together with binders, starches, sugar, and a cocktail of preservatives to hold it all together. This is not a piece of fish. This is a fish-based hot dog, a processed log of marine leftovers shaped into a rectangle. You're feeding your family the sausage of the sea, a culinary Frankenstein's monster coated in crunchy breadcrumbs. Fact 7. Sole fillet, the paper-thin mirage. You're looking for something light, delicate, and quick cooking. The thin, flat sole fillets look perfect, promising a gourmet meal in minutes. You trust that their simplicity is a sign of purity. But that thinness is also a weapon. It is incredibly easy to pass off cheaper, thicker fillets of tilapia or pangasius, skillfully cut and trimmed to mimic the shape of a more expensive flatfish. You think you're getting the delicate flavor of sole, but you're actually chewing on the muddy, bland flesh of a farmed catfish from a river delta thousands of miles away. It's the great masquerade of the seafood counter, where one fish puts on the skin of another to climb the social ladder. Fact 8. Mussels, the bearded hitchhikers. You buy a bag of fresh mussels ready for a classic pot of mariniere. They're closed, they look clean, they seem the picture of freshness. You imagine they were just plucked from their ropes in the clear sea. But look closer at that shell. Those little barnacles and that wiry beard aren't just harmless features. They can be hiding spots. Mussels are filter feeders, and if they come from questionable waters, they can concentrate toxins, bacteria, and heavy metals. That bag might be a history of the polluted water it grew up in, a tiny toxic waste treatment plant sealed in a net bag. You're not just steaming seafood, you might be brewing a biological cocktail. Fact 9. Crab sticks, the great white lie. You're chopping them up for a salad or a sushi roll, enjoying that sweet, familiar flavor. They even have that red dye on the outside, just like real crab legs. You know they're imitation, but surely there's some real crab in there, right? It's in the name! Abandon all hope. Crab sticks, or surimi, contain zero crab. Zero. It's a paste made from cheap, bland white fish, usually Alaskan pollock, which is then flavored, sweetened, starched, and pressed into shape to vaguely resemble crab. The red part is just food coloring. This isn't imitation crab, it's fish bologna, dressed up for a costume party. You're eating the aquatic equivalent of a hot dog and calling it surf and turf. Fact 10. Oysters, the salty opportunists. A dozen on the half shell, a squeeze of lemon, a taste of the briny deep. You slurp them down, feeling like a true connoisseur of the sea's finest offerings. But where were they really from? That local oyster might have been born in one bay, fattened in another, and finished in your restaurant's kitchen. Oyster farming is the original location-scrambling industry. And in that warm, nutrient-rich water where they're grown, bacteria love it. If they're not from impeccably clean, cold, and regulated waters, you're not just tasting the ocean's minerality. You could be inviting a colony of Vibrio bacteria to a party in your gut. You're paying for a potential intestinal rave. Whoa. Still with me? Your taste for the ocean's bounty not yet turned to bile? Good. Because that was just the warm-up. The gentle lapping of waves on the shore. We're about to dive into the deep trench where the real monsters live. You thought a little food coloring in your salmon was bad? That's a sunburn. Next, we're talking about the chemical preservatives, the frozen for years inventory, and the scams so bold they'll make you want to build an ark. Ready to get wet? Fact 11. Swordfish steak, the mercury magnet. You're feeling adventurous, choosing the meaty, dense texture of swordfish. It's a powerful fish, a predator of the deep, and you feel powerful eating it. You think you're consuming pure, primal ocean energy. What you're actually consuming is a top-of-the-food chain accumulation tank. Swordfish are large, long-living predators, and they absorb all the mercury from every single fish they've ever eaten. That steak is a compact, concentrated tablet of industrial heavy metal. You're not just having a meal, you're doing a mercury cleanse in reverse. Congratulations, your healthy choice is giving your body a heavy metal concert it never asked for. Fact 12. Tilapia. The muddy bottom feeder in a tuxedo. It's the most recommended white fish for dieters, the blank slate, the affordable protein. You buy it thinking it's a lean, healthy alternative to fattier fish. You imagine it swimming in clear streams. Stop right there. Tilapia is often raised in the most overcrowded, algae-choked ponds you can imagine. They're the garbage disposals of the fish world, eating a diet of corn and soy pellets that makes their fat profile alarmingly high in inflammatory omega-6 fatty acids, completely opposite of the healthy omega-3s you're seeking. You might as well be eating a pork chop that spent its life in a mud puddle. It's the fish that forgot it was a fish. Fact 13. Pre-peeled garlic shrimp. The chemical bath. You're a genius. You bought the bag of shrimp that's already peeled and deveined. So much time saved. You assume the hard work was done by some kindly person in a hairnet. What you don't see is the processing line. To get those shells off efficiently and keep the meat looking white and plump, these shrimp are often tumbled in a solution of chemicals, like sodium tripolyphosphate. It's not just for preservation, it's to make them absorb water, increasing their weight by up to 30%. You are paying a premium for a chemical solution and water weight. When you cook them, they shrink dramatically as the added water steams out, leaving you with a tiny, tough, salty nugget. You paid for a magic trick, not a meal. Fact 14. Frozen mixed seafood. The medley of mystery. A bag of frozen calamari rings, mussels, and shrimp. Perfect for a quick paella or seafood pasta. It looks so convenient, a little treasure chest of the sea. But look closer. That treasure chest is a lineup of usual suspects. Those calamari rings, often made from the mantle of a giant squid, which is cheap and rubbery, or even from the base of a shark fin. Those mussels, the smallest, most broken ones from the bottom of the batch. This bag is the seafood equivalent of a sausage factory, a place to hide the lowest quality pieces, the misfits and the scraps, all frozen together in a block of ice so you can't pick them apart. You're buying the island of misfit toys, but for seafood. Fact 15. Red snapper, the master of disguise. You see it, gleaming, a beautiful red fish with a name that commands respect and a higher price tag. You're treating yourself. This is a special occasion fish. The reality is that red snapper is one of the most frequently substituted fish in the entire industry. Restaurants and markets have been caught selling everything from tilapia to rockfish, painted or labeled as the pricier snapper. You could be eating a completely different species, One that costs a fraction of the price and tastes nothing like the delicate, flaky fish you ordered. It's the ultimate identity thief of the seafood aisle, stealing not just a name, but your money and your trust. Fact 16. Canned tuna. The Mercury Lottery. It's the pantry staple, the go-to for a quick sandwich or salad. You think you're getting a convenient, healthy dose of protein and omega-3s, but every can is a gamble. Tuna is another large predator, another mercury sponge. But with canned tuna, you're playing mercury roulette. One can might be from a smaller, younger fish with lower levels. The next could be from an older, larger fish packed with the stuff. You have no idea. And that light tuna? Often skipjack, which is smaller and has less mercury, but also less flavor. The white tuna is albacore, which is larger and can have significantly more. You're not just making a sandwich, you're blindly picking a vial from a heavy metal pharmacy. Fact 17. Smoked salmon. The liquid smoke stain. Breakfast with bagels and cream cheese just isn't complete without those silky, translucent slices of smoked salmon. You savor that delicate, smoky flavor, imagining it slowly curing over smoldering oak chips in a Scottish bothy. Time for a reality check. That salmon was almost certainly not smoked. It was painted. Most mass-produced smoked salmon is cured with salt and sugar and then sprayed or dipped in liquid smoke, a condensate of actual smoke that delivers the flavor without the time or the effort. It's the difference between a fine wine aged in a barrel and grape juice with a splash of vodka. You're eating an illusion of craftsmanship. Fact 18. Clams. The sand-filled disappointment. You buy a bag of fresh clams, excited for a classic pasta alle vongole. You soak them, you clean them, you follow the recipe. You do everything right. But after all that work, you bite into one and get a mouthful of grit. Why? Because purged on the label is a suggestion, not a promise. Many clams are not purged long enough, or at all, in clean, sterilized seawater. They're harvested, bagged, and shipped with their digestive systems still full of the sand and mud they were living in. You're not just cooking a meal, you're engaging in an archaeological dig through a mollusk's last meal. And you're losing. Fact 19. Monkfish. The poor man's lobster scam. You see it on a menu or at the counter. Monkfish, sometimes called poor man's lobster, for its sweet, dense flesh that resembles lobster tail when cooked. You think you found a clever, affordable substitute, but here's the twist. The name has made it so popular that demand has skyrocketed, and so has the price. It's no longer the poor man's anything. You're now paying lobster-adjacent prices for an ugly fish that was once thrown back. The scam is historical. The marketing worked so well that you're now overpaying for a fish that was literally considered trash. You fell for the rebrand. Fact 20. Sushi-grade fish, the mythical beast. You're at the fish counter and you see it, a sign that says sushi grade. You feel a wave of relief. Finally, a guarantee of safety for eating raw fish. You can buy this with confidence. Except, sushi grade is a meaningless, unregulated marketing term. It has no legal definition. It's just a label a fishmonger can slap on anything they feel like selling for raw consumption. There are no federal standards for what makes fish safe to eat raw. That label is a placebo, a psychological comfort blanket that lets you ignore the fact that you are completely trusting the store's handling practices with your digestive health. It's a magic word, not a safety inspection. Whoa, feeling a little queasy? Good, that's the healthy skepticism kicking in. We've just scratched the surface, floating on the surface of the seafood scam ocean. But now, it's time to strap on the scuba gear and descend into the dark, pressurized depths where the real titans of industry fraud live. We're talking about the stuff you eat at fancy restaurants, the premium products you save for special occasions. The next batch of facts is so slippery, so deceptive, it'll make you question the very fabric of the food chain. Hold your breath. Fact 21. Caviar, the black gold that's just black. You're celebrating. You pop open a tiny tin of what you believe is the epitome of luxury, caviar. Those glistening black pearls, a taste of the Caspian Sea, a symbol of opulence. You assume that for this price, you are getting the real deal, the unfertilized eggs of a noble sturgeon. Let me introduce you to the imposters. Much of what's sold as affordable caviar isn't from sturgeon at all. It's from lumpfish or even whitefish, the eggs of common, cheap species. They are then dyed jet black with food coloring and doused in salt to mask the bland, often bitter flavor. You're not eating the pearls of the ocean. You're eating colored, salted fish eggs that cost pennies to produce. You're paying for the illusion of royalty. Fact 22. Lobster tail, the frozen fossil. You're at a steakhouse, or you buy a pack of frozen tails for a special dinner. They look impressive, a perfect portion of decadent shellfish. You imagine it was plucked from the cold Atlantic that morning. That lobster tail has likely been frozen for months, if not over a year. And the biggest problem? Freezer burn. That white, dried-out patches you sometimes see? That's where the delicate meat has been damaged by ice crystals, turning it tough and tasteless. To combat this, some processors dip them in sodium phosphates to help them retain moisture, even after months in the deep freeze. You're not defrosting a tail, you're rehydrating a fossil with a chemical crutch. Fact 23. Scallops. The soaked sponges. You're searing them in a hot pan, aiming for that perfect golden crust. You've paid a pretty penny for these large, plump sea scallops. You assume they're pure, sweet muscle meat. As they hit the pan, a puddle of white liquid starts to leak out. They begin to shrink, and instead of searing, they steam in a pool of their own chemical bath. You've been sold wet scallops. These have been treated with a solution of phosphates and water to make them absorb liquid and plump up, increasing their weight by 20 to 30%. You're paying for water, and when you cook it, the water leaves, leaving you with a tiny rubbery disc and a pan full of lies. Fact 24. Mahi-mahi, the histamine time bomb. You order it because it sounds exotic and fun. It's a firm, flavorful fish that holds up well on the grill. You trust it's fresh. But mahi-mahi, also known as dolphin fish, no relation to flipper, is a prime candidate for scombroid poisoning if not handled perfectly. If it's even slightly temperature abused after being caught, bacteria in the fish convert an amino acid into histamine. Cooking doesn't destroy it. You could eat a piece that looks and smells fine, and within minutes, feel like you're having a severe allergic reaction. Flushing, headache, burning mouth. You're not just eating fish. You could be ingesting a built-in biological alarm system that's gone off. Fact 25. Imitation crab, the deep dive. The starch skeleton. We touched on it, but let's peel back the final layer of this lie. You already know it's not crab. But what is it, really? It's surimi, a paste of cheap white fish. But to turn that paste into the fibrous, crab-like texture, it's mixed with a symphony of texturizers: starches, egg whites, sugar, sorbitol, and various proteins. It's then cooked, formed, and dyed. This isn't seafood anymore. It's a processed food product that happens to have some fish in it, like a chicken nugget that forgot it was a bird. You're eating the marine equivalent of a Twinkie, a structurally engineered food-like object. Fact 26. Frozen fish fillets. The glaciers of guile. You buy a family pack of frozen cod or pollock fillets. It's convenient, it's affordable, it's a staple. You open the bag and what do you see? A thick, opaque layer of ice glazing each individual fillet. That ice is called glazing, and it's put there to prevent freezer burn. But it's also a fantastic way to add weight. Regulations allow for a certain percentage of glaze, but it's often pushed to the limit. You think you're buying a pound of fish, but you might be buying 12 ounces of fish and 4 ounces of ice. You're paying the fish price for frozen water. It's the oldest trick in the frozen food book, and you're falling for it every time. Fact 27. Sea scallops versus bay scallops, the size shuffle. You see bay scallops on the menu and think, ah, the smaller, sweeter, more delicate variety. A treat! And you're right, they are a treat. They're also incredibly rare and expensive due to overfishing. So how can a restaurant offer them at a reasonable price? They can't. What you're often getting are sea scallops that have been cut into smaller pieces with a cookie cutter. A giant, cheap sea scallop can be punched into several tiny, expensive-looking bay scallop imposters. You're paying a premium for a fish that got butchered into a different shape. Fact 28. Grouper. The fish that's never grouper. In many parts of the world, especially in restaurants, if you order grouper, you are statistically unlikely to be eating grouper. It's one of the most commonly substituted fish on the planet. Studies have shown that a huge percentage of grouper sold is actually Asian catfish, tilapia, or even hake. Cheap, bland fish that are then prepared with strong sauces to hide the substitution. You think you're tasting the delicate, firm texture of a prized reef fish. You're eating farmed catfish from Vietnam, soaking in a butter sauce, having paid a 300% markup for the privilege. It's the great fish fraud. Fact 29. King crab legs, the price of a few segments. It's the ultimate splurge, the centerpiece of a decadent feast. You're paying an astronomical price per pound for those long, spiky, meat-packed legs. But look at what you're actually buying. A huge portion of that weight is the incredibly thick, inedible shell. You're paying the price of a luxury car for the privilege of cracking open a few segments of meat. And, to add insult to injury, those legs are almost always previously frozen, often on the boat, to preserve them. You're paying a king's ransom for frozen, shell-heavy crustacean parts. It's the ultimate status symbol with the ultimate built-in waste. Fact 30. Tilapia, the return. The Antibiotic Express. We mentioned the muddy ponds, but let's talk about what's in the water with them. In the massive, overcrowded farms of some countries, disease is a constant threat. The solution? A constant flow of antibiotics pumped directly into the water to keep the fish alive long enough to reach your plate. These are not the kind of antibiotics you get from a doctor. They are agricultural chemicals, and trace amounts can remain in the flesh. You're not just eating a bland, fatty fish, you're getting a low-dose, unregulated cocktail of drugs with your dinner. You're the final stop on the pharmaceutical assembly line. Phew! We've been through the ringer, haven't we? We've exposed the pharaohs of fraud and the titans of tampering. But the ocean is deep, and the scams are deeper. We've got 3 final killer facts left. The stuff they don't want you to know about the premium products. The ones with the fancy labels and the heartwarming backstories. This is the final frontier of fish fraud. Prepare for the last descent. Fact 31. Chilean sea bass. The endangered imposter. It's the darling of high-end restaurants. Buttery, rich, and almost impossible to overcook. You order it, feeling sophisticated. The name itself sounds exotic and exclusive. But Chilean sea bass is a marketing invention. Its real name is Patagonian toothfish. Not so appetizing, right? They rebranded it in the 1970s to make it sound desirable. The rebrand was so successful that the fish was fished to the brink of collapse in many areas. It's still often caught illegally. You're not eating a sustainably managed delicacy. You're potentially eating the last of a species that was driven to near extinction by the very marketing that made you want it. You're eating a victim of its own successful PR campaign. Fact 32. Fish oil supplements. The rancid secret. You take your daily fish oil capsule, a good little health citizen, believing you're supporting your heart and brain. You think you're getting a concentrated dose of pure, healthy omega-3s from pristine fish. Fish oil is incredibly prone to oxidation. It goes rancid. And rancid fish oil is not only useless, it can be pro-inflammatory, the exact opposite of what you want. Many cheap mass-market supplements are made from low-quality fish and are already rancid by the time they reach the shelf, a fact masked by deodorizers and other additives. You're not swallowing a health tonic, you might be swallowing a capsule of oxidized, rancid fat. A little time bomb of inflammation for your body. Fact 33. The wild caught label. The most expensive fishing net. You see it on a package of salmon or tuna or shrimp. Wild caught. It's the gold standard, the promise of a natural life, the justification for the higher price. You feel safe. You feel responsible. But that label is just the starting point for the questions. Wild caught where? In a polluted harbor? By what method? With a bottom trawling net that destroys the ocean floor and catches everything else in its path? Wild caught is not a guarantee of quality, sustainability, or even good flavor. It's a category so broad it can include fish caught in dying ecosystems by the most destructive methods imaginable. You're paying a premium for a word, not a promise, and that word can hide a multitude of environmental sins. Well, well, well. So there you have it. The ocean's not so blue, is it? It's more of a murky, chemical gray. I know. Right now, you probably want to move to a landlocked country and subsist on potatoes and tap water, and I get it. After diving into this mess, my own conclusion is pretty grim. They're not trying to poison you. They're just trying to sell you water at the price of gold, ice at the price of fish, and catfish at the price of grouper. The problem isn't the farmed fish or the frozen fillets. The problem is the lie, the markup, the illusion you're paying for. Me? I've become that person at the fish counter, the one who asks where it's from, how it was caught, and if it's been frozen. And if the person in the white coat can't give me a straight answer, I walk away. I'd rather have a can of sardines I trust than a premium fillet I don't. Be suspicious. Ask questions. And for the love of all that is holy, stop buying pre-peeled shrimp. Stay vigilant, and may your dinner be real.